All right, for the next 30 days, I'll be doing not just a carnivore diet, but a strict beef-only diet. The only thing that I'll be consuming is beef. I'll be drinking water. I will add some salt to that beef. But other than that, no other food. I've been on this carnivore diet now for approximately 9 years, and there have been times, as long as 2 years, where I ate nothing but red meat and nothing else. But I have included eggs from time to time. I've included dairy products from time to time. I've had other meat products, fish, chicken, things like that, pork. And then very rarely, every once in a while, we're talking a few times a year, I'll have something that's completely not carnivore. Generally, at least once a year, I would do a 30-day stretch where I would just do beef only or steak only or something like that. Over the last about year and a half, I hadn't. I just kind of kept including the dairy products and the other things, and just kind of, it's been part of my regular diet. Works generally pretty well. What I will say is, I got back from vacation, and if you see this previous video, you'll see how that kind of messed me up a little bit. So I was, pretty much carnivore except one sort of day where I kind of deviated. And then on that trip, I had consumed just a whole bunch of dairy. And in general, I just didn't feel quite as good as I normally do. Some of the things I was dealing with or am dealing with was a little bit of a rash I had along this part of my chest here. It wasn't painful, it wasn't itchy or anything, but it's just kind of annoying. And then also, even prior to going on vacation, I have been engaging in lots and lots of high intense, hard exercise, jumping, sprinting, plyometrics, bounding, hopping, skipping, Olympic lifting, all those things which are quite honestly pretty stressful on the body, particularly a body that is, not long to turn 60. I'm almost 59 years of age, and so I'm pushing myself pretty hard. And so subsequently, I just had a little bit of soreness, a little bit of tendon soreness, which is not unusual at all. If you talk to most people that engage in these activities, including, top level sprinters and other athletes, they're often dealing with some sort of tendon issue. Because of that, I decided that let's do a 30-day reset and see what happens. I will be consuming mostly steak. I'll have probably some ground beef. I'll have what I call carnivore crack, which is, kind of dried beef that I make in my food dehydrator. I might have some biltong, some of those things, and we'll report back on how things are going. All right, so I'm out here in the gym. So we are now about 10 days into this all beef experience and how things are going. Well, first of all, that little rash I had mentioned has basically completely resolved. It's gone away. So I don't know if that was from too much dairy products or eggs or something like that, but for some reason, something that I was consuming outside of just beef was leading to a little bit of a rash. Nothing major, nothing serious. But the real cool thing, and the thing that I'm most excited about, is I don't have any pain whatsoever. I feel wonderful. And so subsequently, my performance is really good right now. I'm able to do everything without any tendon pain. The soreness that I was experiencing has completely gone. I mean, I had a couple areas like both my Achilles tendons, one of my adductor muscles. I had like what some people would call a sports hernia. Those things are gone. I feel wonderful. And so subsequently my performance in the gym and on the track, inhibition at all, because there's no pain, and that feels wonderful. And for all the people, because we often hear people talking about, oh, you need carbs to train, you need carbs to perform. And these are often these gym bro, a lot of these are, steroid using guys, think that that's the greatest thing is, taking a bunch of steroids and getting big. But you know what you really need to train really well? You need to not hurt. You need to not be in pain. That's probably more beneficial. And so you see a lot of these guys that are talking about, oh, you got to have all these carbs in their 20s and 30s. By the time they get in their 40s and 50s, what are they doing? They're like, oh, my shoulder, I need stem cell injections, or I need to be on some peptide, or the training was, I shouldn't have trained. And it's just basically BS. You see, and there's studies out there that show that low carb diets actually are much more beneficial when it comes to joint health. That's clear. I'm living proof, and I'm convinced enough for myself that I perform better in a very low carb state or essentially a zero carb state. I'm able to perform at a very high level, at a very high capacity. I'm gonna hop back on the rowing machine over the next couple of months. I'll get the #1 ranking in the world for my age group again. I have no doubt about that, because I can perform well. And that's really, really important. So I've done this stuff many, many times over the years, but I just hadn't done it in a while. It's an interesting reset, and it's an interesting physiology. And for me, I just feel, and I've said this many, many times over the years, I feel the very best I ever feel when I'm just eating basically red meat and nothing else. All right, so I'm 20 days into this all beef diet, and basically my weight is essentially unchanged, and I'm not really trying to lose weight currently at this moment. What I have noticed is that one, sleep is very, very solid. And number two, and most importantly, at least from my perspective, as I care about this stuff, is my ability to perform athletically is quite good right now. I am not having any sort of soreness at all, which I, somewhat had when I was consuming more eggs, dairy, and things like that. So that's remarkable, and it's allowing me to perform better. My numbers, my speed is getting better on the track, my ability to jump is getting better, and I'm gonna mess around with the rowing machine and see if I can't row the #1 time in the world over a particular distance here. We'll see how that goes. So overall, so far so good. Skin is clear. Mentally, I feel great. My appetite is pretty good. Honestly, I just don't even think much about food at this point. I'm just kind of like, I eat food and I enjoy it, but I'm not really like thinking about it much. Hey guys, one final thing. While I'm sitting here in the nation's capital, looking at all the monuments, it's a truly inspiring place. I've never been here before, and it has sort of reinvigorated my, desire to see if we can help to make America as it should be. We are a nation of tremendous resource, tremendous wealth, tremendous, bright minds, and we should be able to fix this chronic disease epidemic we have. It's clear as day that we can do that. What we're doing at Revero is very much a big part of that. And like I said, if you guys in any way, shape, or form wish to support us in what we're doing to help us fulfill the dream of what America could be, check out Revero.com if you know someone that might potentially benefit from that. Check out republic.com/Revero if you'd like to take ownership by investing in what we're doing. All right, so I finished my 30 days of all beef diet. Technically, actually, I'm on day 33. I'm here in Washington, D.C., standing kind of close to the World War II Memorial. You can see the Washington Monument here in the background. And I have to say that it's been an interesting experience. I've been doing this carnivore diet for now almost a decade, and occasionally I'll do these all beef runs, but I did this one this time, and I was very, very pleased at how it went. As I said, I ate basically pretty much steak every day, a little bit of ground beef, some pemmican, a couple carnivore bars, and that was pretty much it. Had no problem sticking to it. Things I noticed was that my appetite was incredibly well regulated. I was very rarely, if ever, hungry. I ate to sort of my levels of satiety. I used some of these little crispy beef things I made in the food dehydrator, as little things if I ever had feel like a little bit like I wanted a snack. What would have been the results so far? Well, I think the biggest one is just how well I feel. I just feel tremendously good. Like all the little aches and pains from all the training I do, pretty much disappear. My performance has gotten really good. I dunked a basketball for the first time in nearly a decade this month, which is really cool. More work to do on that. I'll get better as I drop more weight. But that's pretty cool. I also broke an American record on the rowing machine, and it was actually fairly easy. I didn't really I hadn't trained for it at all effectively. I did a couple days and then jumped on there and pulled it without much difficulty at all. More to come. More in the tank on that one. And then one of the other funny ones is I was named the world's #1 misinfluencer by the World Economic Forum backed Eat Lancet Commission. I'm the guy out there telling people to eat meat instead of bugs and soybeans, which is what they like to foist upon the world. So, in hindsight, this has been a wonderful experience, a great reset. I think I'm just going to continue with it for a bit longer and see how it goes. And, overall, really good. It's worth trying. You learn some things about yourself. Not everybody needs to do it long term. Not everybody needs to do it fully, but I think it's instructive. So really pleased with the way it turned out. And like I said, feel wonderful. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon.